I'll take care of this.
Greetings, purists. Hutch Henries here, and breaking news only happened about a cool 16 hours ago. I found out pretty much right away, but I have had a hell of a day today. Lots of fun. But now that I am home, I want to talk about the fact that Netflix has just pulled off the biggest move in entertainment history, $82.7 billion deal to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery, the studios, the streaming business, like everything. That means Netflix now owns HBO Max, Warner Brothers. But here's kind of the kicker. They are not getting CNN. They are not getting TBS. They are not getting TNN. So for all of the sickos out there, this is probably good news because those are being spun off into something called Discovery Global. It's a brand new company that will hold all of the old cable channels, basically. So while everybody's freaking out about Netflix buying Warner, the real question is for all of us, what is the future and what does this mean for All Elite Wrestling? What does this mean for WWE and TKO and the future of pro wrestling on TV, as it were? And what does it mean for Tony Khan's deal that he signed this year, I guess, with Warner Brothers Discovery, and for the 10-year, $5 billion deal that WWE has for Raw that also allows for rights for other products. But basically, I guess, let's get into it. So let's clear it up right away. Netflix isn't buying everything under the Warner Brothers Discovery umbrella. They are buying the studio and streaming division. That includes Warner Brothers Pictures, Warner Brothers TV, HBO Max, their entire film library. And this also includes DC Comics. Not that the heart of DC Comics wasn't eaten alive a long time ago, and as well for WWE with the new management. Hate to put over McMahon in any fashion, but you know, he was the Tony Khan of WWE. He was involved with every creative detail. It was his lifeblood. It was him in every way. You don't get that with these massive corporate entities. And DC, I think, has been gone for a while, but also New Line Cinema, Cartoon Network, you know, all the fun stuff, those studios, all of the IPs connected with those networks as well, like all of the movies, Cartoon Network stuff. That chunk supposedly is worth about $72 billion, but just the equity. But the entire company is the 82.7 billion. We can't forget, when we're talking billions, we can't forget the 0.7. That 0.7 could probably feed me and my family for generations, keep us pretty comfortable, most likely. But the traditional cable networks, CNN, TBS, TNT, Adult Swim, I get the Discovery Channel, I guess, as part of it. TLC, if you want to watch gypsies getting married and see midget families doing their thing, then the TLC is for you. Every time I'm on vacation somewhere, pretty much no matter where I am in the world, they've got TLC in some fashion, usually in another language, but it's always there. It's crazy. Food Network, that'll be fun. We're going to get corporate food from now on. No more natural foods. Everything will be like brought to you by Betty Crocker. But in fact, those are actually not part of the sale, but it's still a corporate entity, but it will be global Discovery, not going to be part of the Netflix family. They're all getting spun off, and it's going to operate separately as its own company, basically, you know, handling everything that still runs on regular linear television. So if you watch CNN News, I don't know if things are going to change for you. CNN's ratings have been very low for a while. Their CNN network, or whatever it was, CNN Live, they had like an internet or exclusive pay month thing that didn't work out with Chris Wallace. They're kind of bleeding money and bleeding staff. But if you catch AEW on TBS or TNN, all of that stuff, it's all staying put. They belong to Discovery Global now. And once this spinoff is finalized, probably around this time next year. It's going to take a while, so probably a good year from now, you will see all of that stuff still existing. That doesn't mean Netflix will have direct control of any of those TV channels, and that's good for regulators. It's good for people like us, because otherwise Netflix would own both the content and the distribution, and we don't want that. But what this would also mean is that AEW's home networks, TBS, TNN, they will be part of a totally different business model, one that is not been purchased by Netflix. So this is very good for us sickos, right? Netflix is not going to squash this programming or take things away from us. But AEW's TV situation has indeed gotten more complicated. All right, now let's talk wrestling. We will get right into the thick of things. I think, personally, HBO Max, the AEW deal is going to be gone because Netflix owns all streaming now and owns all of that. And I doubt they're going to double dip. Although they are a massive corporation and they might see WWE's entity as something, good. They'll just see this as another flavor and they might want to augment the deal. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of exclusivity on the side of WWE. This is a 10-year, $5 billion deal where they get Raw the whole time. They get access to PLEs and SmackDown and NXT and all this other stuff. Probably some of the pre-produced things from back in the network day, the Undertaker special, the Stone Cold special, but the Raw deal is the only one that's set in stone. Years from now, it could be only Raw on Netflix. And perhaps it's because Endeavor, TKO themselves want to eventually be able to pen a deal for SmackDown and these other things exclusively somewhere else. But as of right now, TKO Group, with their 10-year deal, kicked off at the very beginning of this year, so they're just a year into it. It makes Raw completely theirs. And even though we see everything else, things could change. Now, when you think about Netflix controlling the WWE pipeline and the Warner Brothers studio system, like everything from production facilities to post-production and distribution, it could affect AEW in the way that, I was just talking on a podcast with Boris the other day. He didn't like the sound, the music, the commentary. He didn't like any of the sound production that was happening. It started off right away with Eddie Kingston in the ring with Samoa Joe, and that kind of stuff could get worse, could get better. As an independent promoter, sometimes when we run shows really far away from our home base, we rent rings, sometimes we rent equipment, or we even use pre-existing crews that come in, and sometimes it doesn't work out. So especially if we're renting equipment ourselves, we're not familiar with it right away, we don't have all the time in the world, and you see this with other indies like GCW and things like that. And if you're a wrestling fan, you've watched New Japan, TNA over the years, AEW, you see these faux pas, much less with WWE over the years, but some of the early stuff, you get that as well. But AEW is still tied to Warner Brothers Discovery's old TV side, the TV side of things that's being spun off, of course. So all the carriers that have Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, they're about to become this separate company, which might have separate infrastructure. And this is where it gets tricky. Once the deal closes, perhaps, 10 years from now, AEW could be in a position where its old partners can come back and can use old equipment. But more than anything, it could work with Netflix to have their content on their product, but like their streaming service. But like I said, the WWE deal is probably exclusive, and Netflix is probably not allowed to touch any of this AEW content anyways, which is why it's good that they didn't take the TV side, because they probably would have squashed it if they owned it outright. But I highly doubt that Tony Khan would ever outright sell AEW unless somehow his hand was forced. I don't know how much of the company Warner Brothers Discovery owns, but according to people like Dave Meltzer and others, they own a chunk of the actual company. So we'll see. Some reports and, some fans are pointing out that the WWE contract pretty much is going to have exclusivity in it for the next decade. So you're not going to ever see AEW on Netflix. Some of the choices that they might have, they could stay with the Discovery Global Network. Hopefully things will work out for them. They'll just double down on national TV. They could find another streaming partner. You've got Amazon, Apple. They could go on YouTube. We're here right now. One of the biggest platforms in the world next to Netflix is YouTube. Netflix is number one. YouTube is number two. There's other people out there like Paramount, but they're kind of bleeding money. They were up for sale for a while. But then when you get these third-party companies, what are they called, like something equity companies? Anyways, they come in with money, they buy it, they help bring value back to the company. A good example would be Arby's. I'm trying to remember, there's like a litigation. There's a name for these companies. They come in. I feel stupid now, but they made Arby's a brand again. But generally, these companies don't care about the soul of the product. They look at making money back and giving the company value in any way possible. And usually they aren't the people that are in love with the product, the sandwiches, as it were with Arby's. But the Tony Khans and the Vince McMahons, it's not those people. So they're interested in the bottom line. So if that happens with Paramount or any other streaming service that AEW's on, it's not going to be good for the artists involved. But they could negotiate directly with Netflix once all these regulatory windows and exclusive periods end, for sure. But this is a 10-year deal. So right now the golden goose is Netflix. For WWE, they're paying really well next to the Saudis, so I don't think anything's going to go anywhere with that. ESPN is supposedly not happy, but Netflix seems to be very happy.
I think we're in trouble.
So what does it mean for us fans? It means that the wrestling landscape is fragmenting again. It's wrought with strife. Oh my God. And what is different? Come on. It's always happening. The last 10 years of wrestling has been fraught with strife, fragmented sides, people. It has been insane. All the way from like Vince McMahon. AEW didn't even exist back then. So nothing new with the fact that there's volatility in the wrestling world, and there always seems to be news. As soon as you think there isn't news, there's something where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that's happening. But, you know, WWE locked in with Netflix. AEW will probably stay viable with TBS and TNT under Global Discovery Global. They have a long-term deal penned right now. So even if they want to get rid of them, let's just say it did, you know, go all the way to Netflix or they had more control, most likely the pen is mightier than the sword. They would wait the deal out before saying, all right, goodbye. So, you know, or unless new corporate structure sets in. And that's another thing. Tony Khan was saying on the Ari Emanuel interview that he has good relationships with the guys at Warner Discovery, but those people will probably end up being replaced. So who knows what's going to happen there. But essentially, if we're watching TV versus a streaming war, it turns into AEW versus WWE all over again, but this time it's TV versus streaming, and there's billions of dollars at stake here. We're going to probably see just as much advertising on AEW, and depending if they go to different stations, as we are currently seeing on WWE, which we are getting absolutely inundated with. There's also the idea that big money and big companies means big minds, big ideas. TKO Endeavor is also part of UFC. They own all of the UFC product, which themselves, just like WWE over the years, has absorbed all the other smaller MMA promotions. You're going to get Pride, you're going to get Pancrase stuff, you're going to get all the really good stuff from the 90s and early 2000s when it started up, and guys were really kicking the shit out of each other. The rules were different, and there wasn't an actual MMA style that you go to train at MMA gyms. It really actually meant mixed martial arts, which is back when it was really fun. When you got, you know, huge guys fighting small guys, and the small guys sometimes beating them, and you're amazed, and sometimes getting crushed. But because of this kind of mentality, you could see Netflix using Warner Brothers as a creative pipeline. They might start producing original sports or combat-based entertainment programs. You know, I believe they might have access to things like Lucha Underground and that mentality. But just in general, like the Forbidden Door style things. You know, they could start it off with AAA and TNA versus WWE. They could try and bring in AEW, New Japan, people that are outside the wrestling sphere that can make these things happen and think differently. You know, AAA currently has their Fox, Fox Latin America has just given them a TV deal. TNA has their brand new TV deal. So things are changing fast, billions of dollars on the table. The entertainment market, huge, but at the same time shrinking as major corporations all amalgamate with each other. And, you know, hard media, our DVDs, our hard games, all disappearing. So like streaming and online content is really becoming, you know, if you want to become a conspiracy theorist, there's lots to talk about there, but it's becoming our sole means of how we communicate and how we entertain ourselves. And who knows what the future might bring for cross promotion and working together. I know as an indie promoter myself, it's difficult to create your little local NWA working with other promotions. It's all about making your money and surviving, and it's very difficult to do. But these guys, they're the big dogs. They're the sharks. They really know how to play the game. So hopefully in the end run, we all come out with better products and not more truncated products, because I would like to see a middle ground between the hardcore insanity of AEW that we get nonstop and the squeaky clean produced product of WWE, especially the in-ring product. Very, not just the presentation, the actual wrestling itself. It's a very interesting landscape. All right, without a doubt, this is the biggest studio merger of all time, at least since Disney bought Fox. And it signals that the future of entertainment isn't really about channels anymore. It's about this ecosystem I was just talking about, streaming and online content. And Netflix now controls a massive production engine, premium streaming platforms, the biggest wrestling brand in the world through TKO, UFC. Meanwhile, AEW is left with their traditional cable They're moving into a smaller, leaner lane with Discovery Global, but also we've been seeing that they've been moving away from all of the stadiums they were at for a while. I mean, Tony Khan probably had to book a lot of these stadiums ahead of time, and even though his audience was waning, he was committed. And now we're seeing him adjusting to the type of audience we have. And if he brings in more people, then these smaller venues are going to get really packed, and it's going to really look great for AEW before they have to move to bigger venues as a necessity. Whereas at first, the appeal, the need for an alternative wrestling product, all of us salivating for it, we just packed in, and then they were kind of committed to a lot of the venues that they booked. And the same thing, like I was saying earlier, with production equipment. Hopefully they can keep it up. But so the next few years could decide whether AEW stays a strong number 2 promotion in the eyes of the like non-wrestling mark sicko person, the average person, or whether they're going to start seeing more TNA with the new TV deal, whether AAA is going to start becoming more prevalent. I mean, right here on YouTube, the Latin market is 75% of YouTube is Spanish-speaking channels and content. So it is a huge market out there, and hopefully the rug does not get pulled out from under AEW as this massive seismic shift happens. And hopefully in the end run, through strife, we get a stronger, leaner, better, more grizzled AEW product. And that would probably be a good thing. All right, thank you so much for watching this. It is the end of the traditional wrestling TV era. It looks like it's going to be streaming from now on. I can't tell you how excited I am to just turn this off and go straight to SmackDown. I started recording this before SmackDown. Maybe they'll talk about this deal on SmackDown, and everything I tell you is redundant. They'll have explained a portion of it on the show. Who knows? You'll probably be watching this soon after I get this uploaded. We'll probably be live soon after SmackDown. But anyways, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, please comment below. And I'm going to go eat some food and dial up some Netflix and watch me some SmackDown, which of course is not on their 10-year deal, but they get the rights to it for now. So lucky me.